Lesson 2 for Plate Analyzer is going to show you the basics. So the first thing we have is a heat map, a 3D view, which you can rotate, graphs, which will show you IC50 curves, intensity profiles, which allow you to click on any parameter and see that parameter over whatever is clicked up in the top part here, which we call a logic tree. And you did notice that I moved this gate, and I can move these gates. If you want to, if you grab hold of this gate on this double line here, you can move the entire top area here to a second screen, and gives you a full screen for your logic tree. When you have a very complicated logic tree, that's very useful. Of course, you can move things around. Everything's on elastic strings, and you can move them in pretty much anywhere you want, and make your logic tree very logical. And you can name things, and you should name things. So these are what I would say are the good cells for this assay. I'm linking these because using this Boolean here, it just is convenient to link multiple drug boxes. These are containers, and they hold series of drugs, and I'll explain how that works. And then this graph here, if I click on it, it will form a new plot, and that plot button simply is a way of plotting something. So if I click on this, it will plot exactly the same thing as this. But if I also link it to this one, when I click this plot button here and make it green, you'll see that all the drugs from both channels are now plotted. You know, it's a little bit overwhelming with that number of plots. Well, if I were looking at IC50s, it would be better, and I can show the same thing here. So the info here is about the program. Options here gives you an area to change the scale, to turn off the computation for IC50s, which will speed up the program considerably while you're developing something. And here is a bunch of distance measures that are very, very useful for some very advanced analysis. The spillover table is here, and some special features for LSR2 users, where we can crop outliers and do some interesting modifications of data so that the histograms actually look the way most people expect to see them. On the left of your screen over here, there are a bunch of parameters or variable files, histograms rather, and you'll see there's a time scale up here, and every one of these has a cursor, and that cursor is very important because that cursor allows you to screen your plate to see what's there. So if you click on heat map, for example, and make sure prism is highlighted, if you now go into this area here and, for example, click JC1 525 on this file, you'll immediately see that the right side is highlighted, and the right side represents the right drug box, drugs 17 to 32, because there are 16 drugs down here and there are 16 drugs down here. Now, if I were to click on the left-hand side, what would happen would be the drugs on the left-hand highlighted like that, and I can just click one of these and turn that off, because what I want to show you is what happens when I move the cursor. When I move the cursor, as you can see, I'm slowly dragging the cursor across here, you'll see that the entire plate changes. And those plates, those wells that have very high percentages, as clicked here, of cells in them that fit the category here, then on the right side of this they will be shown here. So these basically are a plate map of what is represented here. And if you move this over here, well, clearly no cells virtually are there, although there's this cell here. These two have some kind of very, very high fluorescence. But now you can see a pretty nice pattern emerging, because these high concentrations of drugs followed by dose responses here. High concentration of drugs, dose responses. And down here are our controls. They are positive controls for this particular assay. So that's the basics of whatever you click on here, by the way. You can show the same thing. And actually there's some very complicated things you can do, but I'm not going to show you those right now.